Waitress brings homeless man to grandmother's birthday, but discovers his incredible secret. The diner was alive with clattering plates and laughter. Jenna, a 28-year-old waitress with bright eyes and a radiant smile, zipped between tables, coffee pot in hand. Today was special. It was her grandmother Doris's 80th birthday, and Jenna was determined to make it unforgettable despite the thick cloud of worry that always seemed to shadow her. As she took an order from Mr. Thompson, the local farmer, her heart raced with mixing excitement and anxiety. She wanted Doris to feel cherished, to see the love her family had for her, maybe even forget the heartbreak of her declining health, if only for a moment. At the end of her shift, Jenna stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. The world felt heavy, but vibrant autumn leaves danced around her. That's when she saw him, Sam, a homeless veteran with gentle eyes that told stories of battles fought and lost. He sat against the diner wall, a weathered duffel bag by his side. Something tugged at Jenna's heart. Without thinking, she approached him. "Hey, it's my grandma's birthday today, would you like to join us for some cake?" He looked surprised but nodded, a soft smile easing the lines on his face. Jenna felt a spark of warmth. Maybe today could be about more than just her family. Maybe they could share this moment and uplift each other. As the family gathered later that evening, laughter mingled with the scent of fresh cake wafting through the air. Jenna's cousins swarmed around her, and she introduced Sam, hoping for understanding. But almost immediately, tension crept in. Whispers filled the room as Jenna's uncle voiced discomfort, echoing old prejudices. Some eyes darted suspiciously. Jenna clenched her jaw, feeling the defensiveness rise in her chest. Yet Sam remained quiet, smiling gently, the weight of his own invisible scars curling in the corners of his eyes. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Suddenly, loud rumbles echoed from outside. A storm had rolled in, snapping tree branches and whipping winds that howled like ghosts. Neighbors began to arrive, seeking shelter, and the atmosphere shifted into chaos. Jenna's family was pulled under the weight of the situation, fears and judgments bubbling over as they navigated unfamiliar territory. It was there, in the crossfire of frantic discussions, that Sam's true identity surfaced. Someone recognized him, the decorated war hero looking helpless among them. The room fell irrefutably silent, eyes darting between Sam and Jenna. Jenna's heart raced, the unspoken judgments loomed large. What would they say now? Would they choose anger, or would they start to open their hearts? As Sam stood, vulnerable yet proud, Jenna felt hope stir within her. Maybe, just maybe, this storm would reshape them all into something more, something stronger together. Secrets hung heavy in the air, waiting to break free, but would they grasp the opportunity? Desperation pressed against her throat as she anxiously glanced around the room, her family struggling with long-held biases. In this moment of uncertainty, a life-changing decision loomed ahead. Would they embrace Sam and confront their discomfort, or would they let fear dictate their hearts? As the storm raged outside, the greatest storm of all was brewing within her family, and Jenna could only hold on to the hope for clarity and connection in a world torn apart. The silence was almost deafening. It pressed on Jenna's chest, thick and heavy. Whispers fluttered like frightened birds as her uncle's voice pierced through the tension. "I can't believe you brought him here, Jenna. This is disgraceful." But Jenna's heart raced, not in fear, but in defiance. There was something about Sam, something that pulled at her soul. She shot him a glance, and in that moment, he nodded slightly, a cue that he was ready for whatever came next. "Please, Uncle Ray," Jenna implored, her voice steady despite the storm raging outside and the tempest inside her family. "This is my grandma's birthday. We were just trying to spread a little joy. But her words felt like they were getting lost in the chaos. Someone from the back murmured, "Why should he celebrate with us? He's a stranger." Familiar sentiments weighed heavily in the air. Jenna felt her heart sink, but there was no time for despair. She knew she had to act. "Sam is a hero," she stated clearly, her gaze shifting back to him. She saw the lines of worry etched on his face but also the quiet strength within his eyes. "He served our country. He's fighting battles far beyond what we can see." At that moment, a flash of lightning illuminated the room, followed by an earth-shaking clap of thunder. It was as if the storm itself was echoing the turmoil within her family. Doris, sitting at the head of the table, slowly lifted her gaze. As the matriarch of the family, her voice held a certain power. "We are family," she spoke softly but firmly, her words cutting through the tension like the sharpest knife. "Aren't we all meant to help each other? Sam deserves to share in this day." There was a shift in the room. Self-doubt lingered, paired with the reflections of the elderly woman's courage. Jenna watched as a couple of faces softened, while others still bore scowls of skepticism. Sam remained quiet, an island of calm amidst the turbulence. He looked down at his hands, roughened and weary, and Jenna felt a wave of compassion wash over her. She stepped closer to him, her heart pounding, daring to bridge the gap. "Tell us your story," she urged, breaking the silence again, and the room hung on her words. Sam looked up, meeting eyes with Doris, who sat wrapped in a quilt, her years of wisdom reflecting a deeper understanding of humanity. With a deep breath, Sam began to speak. "I didn't choose this life. I fought in battles that left scars on my soul." His voice was gravelly but steady, each word carrying the weight of his experiences. With every story he shared, Jenna felt the warmth of connection spark among those gathered. Voices shifted from whispers of judgment to intrigued murmurs. "And when I was lost, I found hope in small places," he continued, eyes shimmering with emotion. "Our struggles bind us together, even if they don't look the same." A shift occurred then, where assumptions transformed into empathy. Jenna glanced at her relatives, their expressions were slowly shifting. She felt the ghost of doubt start to fade into the backdrop of the storm. Then, as if blessed by fate, her grandmother reached out a trembling hand towards Sam, her face a compass of kindness. "Then you should eat some cake with us. It's not just for me but for everyone who believes love conquers fear." As they shared smiles over slices of cake, Jenna felt a lightness fill the air. But a nagging thought lingered: what revelation awaited them? What other secrets lay hidden in Sam's past, waiting to be unearthed? A mixture of dread and curiosity flashed through her mind, setting the stage for deeper connections yet to unfold. Would this moment of acceptance spark change forever? With each slice of cake shared, the atmosphere around the table lightened. Jenna watched as her family, once entrenched in judgment, began to thaw. Sam's stories were becoming threads weaving into the fabric of their gathering, creating a tapestry of understanding and intrigue. Laughter punctuated the air, brightening faces that had been clouded moments before. "Tell us more, Sam," her cousin Lily said, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What kind of things did you see out there?" Sam hesitated, glancing from face to face. He shifted in his chair, discomfort momentarily clouding the warmth of the room. "There were moments of light," he said slowly, "like when I saw others rise up for each other, even when facing darkness. It taught me about resilience." Jenna felt a surge of pride for the man beside her. She could see how his experiences, laden as they were with pain, had shaped him into someone beautiful and fierce. The family that had been so resistant was beginning to embrace his past not for pity, but for the strength it represented. In a corner of the room, Uncle Ray's scowl deepened. "We can't forget he's still a stranger," he muttered under his breath. The words sliced through Jenna's newfound joy. "Uncle Ray, please," she replied, her voice rising in determination. "He's been nothing but open with us. We need to give people a chance, don't we?" There was a fire in her heart, a longing for acceptance she wished her uncle could understand. Sam looked at her, gratitude flickering in his expression. "I get it," he said quietly. "It's hard to let down those walls. But sometimes that's the only way to find your way back home." His eyes sparkled with unshed tears as he spoke. The conversation shifted, blending heartwarming and heart-wrenching stories, and laughter echoed off the walls. Jenna felt lighter, buoyed by the connection unfolding before her. Doris leaned forward, her voice filled with warmth. "How about we tell stories, one after another? Like a round table of experiences. Or maybe a round table of truth," Sam suggested, a hint of a smile breaking through. As the laughter subsided, one person at the table remained quiet, her brother David, a typical teenager draped in indifference. But Jenna sensed something deeper behind his stern face, the worry etched around his brows. His silence was thick, like a shadow that curled around them. Jenna realized he wasn't just silent, he was processing. "You okay, David?" she asked gently. He looked up, surprise flashing across his features. I never thought about what it might be like," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "You always think of soldiers like, just heroes, not people." In that moment, a ripple of understanding trembled through the group. Before Sam could respond, a loud knock echoed through the house, startling everyone. The door shuddered against the frame, accompanied by a sudden gust of wind that sent a chill through them. "What was that?" Doris asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jenna's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Sam, both curious and anxious. The warmth of the moment faded into cautious anticipation. Expectations swirled like the storm outside, and uncertainty loomed in the air. With reluctant trepidation, she rose from her seat. Would the visitor bring further acceptance or more chaos? As she approached the door, she felt Sam's eyes on her, a comforting presence to ground her. Jenna turned the handle and opened the door, and what awaited her outside would change everything once again. Jenna's breath hitched as the door creaked open. Rain drummed against the porch, and the wind howled like a lost soul. But it was the figure standing there that truly froze her in place. A man, probably in his late 40s, stood hunched against the downpour. His clothes were tattered and soaked, hair plastered to his head, eyes wide with a mix of fear and vulnerability. The storm danced in the background, but even the thunder seemed quiet next to the weight of his presence. "Excuse me," he croaked, his voice raw. "I am looking for shelter. Is it too late to ask for some kindness?" Jenna glanced back at her family, unsure how they would react. Part of her wanted to slam the door and retreat to the warmth of their gathering, while another part, the part that had found strength in Sam's stories, pushed her forward. She remembered his words about resilience and tearing down walls. "Come in," Jenna said, stepping aside. She felt a rush of confidence that surprised even her. As the man stumbled into the foyer, Sam stood, worry knitting his brow. "Jenna, are you sure? Let us at least hear him out," she replied firmly, her heart racing. Everyone at the table turned to face the newcomer, eyes wide and uncertain. Jenna felt the weight of their stares. The man rubbed his arms, a shiver running through him. "Thank you," he said, his gratitude palpable. "I didn't mean to intrude. It's just, I lost my way. I'm not really sure where to go anymore." Lily rose, approaching him hesitantly. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" "Just a moment out of the rain would mean the world," he replied softly, glancing around the room. "I don't want to be a bother." "You're not a bother," Jenna interjected. "It's just a surprise, that's all. We're having a family gathering." As the man looked at them, an unexpected glint ignited in his eyes, contrasting his frail exterior. "You look happy. Like you found something worth cherishing." "Something like that," Sam said, stepping closer. "We just shared some stories. It's amazing how much we can learn from each other." The man nodded slowly, a flicker of understanding playing across his face. "You know, stories can be powerful. They can change hearts. Do you have a story to share? Doris asked, her voice now warm and inviting, completely shifting the mood in the room. The man hesitated. Something deeper lay behind his eyes. I do. But it's not just mine. It's about how I came to learn those lessons. Jenna looked at Sam and her family, sensing the swell of anticipation. She felt the connection in the air. They were on the brink of something real, something transformative. Please, we want to hear it, Jenna urged, feeling a surge of hope. Behind this man's hardships lay years of experience, much like Sam's. As he began to unfold his life, one thread at a time, Jenna sensed that this moment would not only reveal the man's past but would also intertwine with their own stories in ways they could never predict. What wisdom would emerge from his struggle? What truths awaited them all in this unexpected visit? Just then, the lights flickered ominously, plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp echoed as fear filled the void left by the sudden blackout. The man's voice, steady and calm, cut through the darkness. Remember, even in the darkest times, there's always a way to find the light. Jenna felt her heart race, dread and excitement intertwining. What revelations were waiting to be unveiled in that pitch-black room? The darkness settled like a heavy blanket, enveloping the room in an unsettling silence. Jenna could feel the pulse of her heart in her throat, the tension thick enough to slice. She instinctively looked around, her family's silhouettes blending into the shadows. She could almost hear their thoughts, a mix of concern and uncertainty. Can anyone find a light? Sam's voice broke through, but it trembled with the same fear that gripped Jenna. She wished she could flick on some hope, shining it in the corners where shadows dwelled. Instead, she felt rooted, like she was part of the landscape, solid but uncertain. Stay close, everyone, Jenna said, trying to sound reassuring, but even she could hear the slight quake in her voice. What if this man was not who he seemed? What if they had invited danger into their home? But in that thick silence, the man continued, his voice a steady beacon. When things go dark, he said, that's when you find out what you're made of. You either choose to retreat or you choose to stand your ground. Do you really believe that? Lily asked, her voice small but curious, a glimmer of courage behind her words. There was a time in my life when I thought the darkness would swallow me whole, he replied, his tone earnest. I was lost, alone. I chose to keep walking forward. Sometimes, it's just one step, but it's the only way to find what's next. Jenna felt a rush of emotions: admiration, understanding, maybe even a hint of fear. This man was unfolding a story that they so desperately needed to hear, one that could offer them a glimpse of strength. Sometimes that step can lead you to unexpected places, he continued. Like this home. Like this moment. I was thrown off my path, but perhaps that was a blessing in disguise. As he spoke, the lights flickered to life, revealing the anxious faces of her family. They looked both relieved and entranced, caught in the grip of his words. Jenna couldn't shake the feeling of significance. His presence was more than coincidental. That spark in his eye spoke volumes of trials endured, battles fought, what could lay buried within. What do you mean? Jenna asked, desperate to understand. It's a long story, he said, glancing towards the rain-soaked window. But it starts with loss and a search for hope. Jenna leaned in, her family's eyes glued to this man, this stranger. There was a collective urge to help him, but also a resonance that hinted they might learn something vital for themselves. I was once a successful writer, but my world crumbled after losing my wife to a terrible illness, he said, the vulnerability in his voice pulling Jenna closer. My words turned into ashes. The only thing left was my sorrow, clinging to me, leaving me adrift in a storm without an anchor. Doris reached out, placing her hand on his shoulder, a gesture of understanding that seemed to lift some weight from the air. I thought I would never write again, he continued, but one day, while sitting on a park bench, I met a young girl who had her own heartbreak. She reminded me that even in despair, you can find glimmers of hope. You just have to be willing to look. As he spoke about the girl and her family, something shifted in Jenna's heart. What did you find? She asked, her curiosity piercing through the shadows. The man smiled, a quiet strength radiating from him. That life continues, despite our choices. We can shape our own narrative, and sometimes, we must face the darkness to see the light. Each revelation cracked open the door to Jenna's heart, leaving her longing for more. His journey intertwined with hers, a winding path of struggle and resilience. But as the man continued, a distant rumble of thunder echoed outside, shaking the very foundations of the house. Jenna felt a shiver run down her spine. What else would he share? Would there be more challenges that could reshape everything they believed? Tell us everything, Jenna breathed, both eager and fearful, clutching the edge of her chair as shadows danced around her. What final truth would he uncover? What was waiting just beyond this moment? As the thunder rolled once more, the storm outside seemed to mirror the chaos within. The man looked into Jenna's eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. She could feel the weight of his past resting heavily on his shoulders, and in that moment, it felt like they were sharing a secret, something unspoken yet vital. I don't want to take more of your time when you should be celebrating, he hesitated, glancing at the battered cake on the table, a mere shadow of the glorious treat her grandmother had envisioned. But maybe my story intertwines with your lives more than you know. Please, just tell us, Lily urged, leaning forward. Her eyes were wide, full of determination, as if they were pulling the words from him, weaving them into something tangible and real. The man took a deep breath, his voice gaining strength. After losing my wife, I found myself on the streets, wandering aimlessly. I had lost everything that mattered. The words escaped me. I was a shell of a man. I hardly knew what hope felt like. He paused, his gaze drifting momentarily out the window, back into the rain that painted the world outside. But one cold evening, I saw a woman huddled on the pavement, clutching her child. She was shivering, her eyes echoing the stark reality of their situation. And there it was, a spark. In her desperation, she reminded me of who I used to be. Jenna felt her heart ache, a silent sorrow for the struggles of so many. This man was revealing a side of humanity that often lay hidden away, buried beneath layers of privilege and comfort. I sat beside her, and we ended up speaking for hours. In that conversation, I found my voice again. I began scribbling words on crumpled pieces of paper, tales of hardship and endurance, stories that lived in me and her stories that we all share. You began to write again? Sam asked, wide-eyed, a spark of excitement breaking through the tension in the room. The man nodded, a smile breaking through the previous weight in his expression. Yes, but it wasn't until I collected those papers and began to share them with a wider audience that I realized something profound. Every story resonates. It boomerangs back at us, reminding us we're not alone, even when our paths diverge into darkness. Doris whispered, you mean the little things, the moments of connection? They keep us anchored, don't they? Yes, he said, his eyes glowing. If we share our pain, our hopes, we for a moment tangle those experiences together. And that's where true hope lives. Jenna felt the room coming alive with warmth. There was laughter over shared memories and quiet nods of understanding, a bond her family didn't know they needed. The momentary shadow outside the window seemed a little less foreboding. But just as they found their rhythm, the lights flickered again, and the storm howled, rattling the windows. The man's smile faded slightly, replaced by an intense look. But there are also dark sides to this journey. Anger, mistrust, and betrayal. What do you mean? Jenna asked, her stomach nodding once again. I've found myself in places where those shadows lurked, he confessed, the weight of those words hanging heavy in the air. Times when I trusted the wrong person, thinking the light they offered was genuine. A sharp intake of breath echoed in the room. Jenna, he said, looking directly at her. Sometimes, it takes one final leap of faith to discern the true nature of those around us. Jenna's heart raced. What leap was he referring to? What shadows did he face in his own life? And as the rain poured harder, she felt that familiar tension creeping back in. Would there be trust lost? Or could these words become a foundation of strength for them all? Tell us what happened, Jenna urged, her pulse quickening. What revelation lay ahead? What darkness did he carry, and would it somehow touch their lives? The man studied Jenna intently, the weight of his past flickering in his eyes like the candle flames sputtering on the table. It felt as though time held its breath, waiting for him to unravel the truth that hovered just out of reach. There was a time, he began, his voice steady yet filled with an undercurrent of emotion, when I thought I could end the cycle of darkness in my life. After that night with the woman and her child, I found a small community of writers, people who had gathered in one dingy cafe in the city. Each of us carried our own ghosts. It felt like I had stepped into a chorus of heartaches. Jenna leaned closer, captivated, sensing that this man was about to bring her into the heart of his struggles. We shared our stories in the hopes of healing. I started sharing my pieces publicly. It was terrifying, but with each story, I felt a weight lift. Until, one day, someone showed up, a man who adored my words but seemed to want more than they portrayed. More? Sam asked softly, almost as if afraid to disrupt the man's flow. The man nodded, a shadow crossing his face. He offered guidance and connections that could elevate my writing. For a moment, I thought I had found a mentor, someone to help light the path out of my despair. But the truth was darker than I imagined. He wanted to exploit the very essence of my pain for profit. Gasps erupted around the table. Jenna felt a chill as his words echoed in her thoughts. Was it so easy for trust to twist into betrayal? I didn't see it at first, he continued. The signs were subtler, cloaked in compliments and false promises. I was too eager to believe someone genuinely cared. His voice cracked with the weight of emotion. I wrote and wrote, pouring every experience into my work, while he harvested my soul under the guise of encouragement. Did you confront him? Doris asked, clutching her cup as she became rooted in the intensity of his narrative. Yes, he replied, a hint of disbelief mingling with regret. But by the time I realized the trap he had built, I was already vulnerable, exposed. When I finally pulled back, he turned on me, taking my trust and twisting it into something grotesque. It broke me all over again. Silence enveloped the room, heavy and unyielding. The lightning flashed outside, illuminating the stormy world, while inside, the air felt charged with the shared pain of his revelation. Jenna, he said suddenly, breaking the silence, his eyes locking onto hers. That darkness has a way of tricking you, making you feel utterly alone. But here's the thing, I fought back. In exposing his grasp over my words, I set myself free. I rediscovered my voice, but it didn't come without scars. I realized the leap of faith I had to take was to trust myself first, before anyone else. A sense of determination rose in Jenna's chest as she processed his words. And now? Do you still write? The man's smile returned, though it was tinged with bittersweetness. Oh, yes. I write for myself now. Those stories helped others, but I reclaimed my narrative. And in doing so, I found a family among those writers. Not blood, but a community built on shared experiences. Jenna felt a rush of inspiration. Sharing pain had sparked hope. Their lives intertwined in an unexpected yet profound way, each story an anchor in the tumultuous waters they navigated. But then, a sudden crash of thunder shook the windows, and the lights flickered again, casting them into momentary darkness. Jenna's heart raced as the unsettling feeling returned. Had they tempted fate by exploring these depths together? What if the shadows come back? She whispered, afraid to voice the thoughts that drummed in her head. The man turned serious, his face reflecting the gravity of her words. You can't escape them entirely. But when you share your truth, you can turn the tide. Trust is hard won, and sometimes those shadows are the only ones around. You must believe there's light on the other side. The storm raged louder now, as if urging them onward. Jenna could hardly breathe, so wrapped up in the uncertainty and tension. Could this be their moment of hope, a tale to inspire strength? But just as she opened her mouth to respond, a knock echoed on the door, cutting through their reverie. Who could it be? The world outside felt threatening, but perhaps it held a promise too. Jenna's heart raced again. What if this was a chance encounter, an unexpected twist? The knock reverberated in the room, slicing through the shared intensity like a knife. Jenna's breath caught in her throat as her mind raced. Who could it be? The atmosphere thickened, expectation twisting against the backdrop of the storm. Should someone answer it? Sam whispered, glancing nervously at the door. Jenna felt a flicker of apprehension wash over her. I'll go, she said, firming her resolve. Her legs felt heavy, but she pushed through the unease, feeling the weight of curiosity tugging at her. Jenna walked to the door, each step heavy with uncertainty. She placed her hand on the cold doorknob, hesitating only for a moment before pulling it open. Wind and rain rushed into the warm room, sending a chill up her spine, but the sight before her took her breath away. Standing there was a man, drenched to the bone, his tangled hair plastered to his forehead. He looked lost, a slate-gray blanket draped over his shoulders, its edges frayed and worn. His wide eyes glimmered in the dim light, filled with a mix of desperation and something deeper, perhaps hope. Please, he croaked, voice shaky but urgent. I'm sorry to intrude. I didn't know where else to go. Jenna's heart ached at his vulnerability. An instinctual reaction pulled her to him. Come in, she said urgently, her voice breaking slightly. You can warm up. We have some extra blankets. He shuffled inside, shaking off the moisture like a dog shedding water. The warmth of the room enveloped him, momentarily dulling the haunted look in his eyes. The man settled in a corner, the flickering candlelight revealing the lines of weariness etched on his face. The others looked on, their expressions a mix of empathy and curiosity. Jenna could feel the air shift the moment was charged. The man looked around, as if realizing he hadn't walked into just a room, but a sanctuary. What is your name? Jenna asked gently, pulling a chair closer to him. Tom, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to intrude. I heard laughter and light. I thought maybe you could find a piece of it for yourself, the man at the table interjected softly, a knowing look passing between him and Jenna. Tom nodded, I suppose I hoped for a moment of warmth. Doris leaned forward, her eyes shining. You found it, Tom. Tell us your story. We're all sharing here tonight. Jenna's heart raced. Could sharing stories lead to connection? To understanding? I don't know where to start, Tom said, running a hand through his hair. It's just life has been a series of doors slamming in my face. Jenna could see the pain lurking beneath his words. You're in a safe space, she reminded him, her voice steady. As Tom began to speak, revealing disjointed tales of loss and survival, Jenna felt the world outside fade away. Each word hung in the air, thick with the weight of his experiences, the grief, the despair. But within that, there was strength too. His voice cracked, emotion spilling over. I used to have a family. A real job, a home, he confessed, tears pooling in his eyes. But one thing led to another, and I lost it all. Moments of silence fell, punctuated by the relentless rain against the windows. Jenna glanced around the room, seeing the others drawn in, captivated by Tom's journey. Bitter sadness mingled with a glimmer of hope, echoing the stories they all shared. Keep going, Jenna urged him, determination growing inside her. You've taken the first step. Let us bear witness to your truth. Tom took a deep breath and continued, revealing the story behind his homelessness, the circumstances that had led him to that very moment. With every word, the heaviness in the room began to lift, sparking flickers of connection and understanding. Sometimes it feels like you're shouting into the void, he said, voice trembling. But maybe just maybe if someone hears you, things can change. Jenna felt a flicker of realization. As Tom bared his soul, she knew they were on a precipice of something transformative, a potential turning point for all of them. Just then, the lights flickered again, momentarily plunging them into darkness. A collective gasp echoed as the storm raged on, breaking the fragile moment. "What now?" Sam murmured, a hint of panic creeping back into his voice. Jenna's heart thumped against her ribcage. What if someone else is waiting outside? Someone who needs to hear what we've all shared. Before anyone could respond, another knock echoed, louder this time, as if urging them to confront whatever lay beyond the door. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. What awaited them out there? More shadows, or perhaps another story that could light their path. Jenna's heart raced again as the knock echoed, louder this time, reverberating against their collective silence. The mood shifted, the tension was palpable. Mixed emotions swirled around the room: fear, anticipation, and a hint of curiosity. Tom's eyes widened with an urgency that hadn't been there before. "What if it's someone else like me?" he said, his voice trembling. "I mean, what if they need help?" "Then we help them," Doris replied, her tone firm. "Just like we're helping you." Jenna took a breath, thinking of the storm outside. A flicker of solidarity coursed through her. "I'll check," she decided, stepping toward the door. As her hand hovered over the knob, she hesitated. The sanctuary they created felt fragile. With a quick glance back at the group, she saw encouragement and hope on their faces. They understood what she was feeling, they were in this together. Gathering her courage, she turned the doorknob and pulled the door open. The wind whipped through, fierce and cold, but the sight that greeted her turned that chill into something else entirely. A girl stood there, probably around 12 or 13, with matted hair and wide, frightened eyes. She was soaked to the skin, clutching a dirty backpack that looked nearly as worn as she did. Jenna's heart sank at the sight. "Please," the girl's voice quivered, barely audible above the storm. I don't know where to go." Jenna's instincts kicked in. She quickly waved her inside, barely pausing to invite her in before she felt an overwhelming rush of compassion. "You don't have to be alone. Come in, you'll be safe here." As the girl stepped across the threshold, Jenna noticed the way the light from the flickering candles caught the girl's tear-streaked cheeks. She looked so different from Tom, but the similarities were undeniable: the fear, the vulnerability, the need for warmth and acceptance. "Everyone, this is Lily," Jenna announced softly, watching the reactions unfold at the table. Concern and empathy immediately washed over the group as they welcomed the girl into their midst. "Sit here, honey," Doris said, reaching for a blanket. "You must be freezing." "Thank you," Lily whispered, her voice shaky but grateful. They surrounded her, creating a protective bubble against the storm raging outside. Tom shifted closer, his own eyes widening as if he recognized something in Lily's plight. As she sank deeper into the warmth of their kindness, Jenna noticed a flicker of connection building between them, two souls, lost yet united by their stories. "What has happened to you?" Tom asked gently, his tone soothing. Lily fidgeted, biting her lip as if weighing the risk of sharing. I got lost. My mom but the words caught in her throat, and a shudder ran through her. "Take your time," Jenna encouraged, reaching out and placing a hand on Lily's. "You're in a safe place." Tom offered her a soft smile. "We're all friends here. You can tell us." As Lily's story unfolded, Jenna felt the weight of her words. Glimpses of a broken home, uncertainty, and a desperate search for solace painted a picture far too familiar. The shadows in her gaze reflected the same anguish Tom had shared, and for a moment, Jenna's heart ached for both of them. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. Someone was fiddling with the power outside, battling the storm. But this time, it didn't plunge them into darkness. Instead, the flicker illuminated the quiet resolve in Tom's and Lily's looks, a spark of shared experience and understanding igniting in the room. What if we all shared our stories? Jenna proposed, her voice steady and resonant. Maybe then we can find a way to heal together. As her words settled in the air, Jenna could see hope flickering to life among the group, the connection blossoming in the face of adversity. But just as the atmosphere began to shift towards something brighter, before they could embark on this journey of healing together, the lights went out completely, plunging them into darkness once more. What now? Sam's voice held panic, but it was tempered by something more: curiosity, anticipation. Jenna took a deep breath, her heart pounding. What if this is a sign? What if we're being called to something greater? The door creaked open again, a gust of wind sweeping through, as if inviting yet another story, another secret waiting to be uncovered. Who or what was next? The door swung open on its hinges, revealing nothing but shadows and rain, but Jenna felt an electric pulse in the air. Was it another visitor seeking warmth from the storm, or was it a deeper call, resonating within their souls? Her heart thudded in her chest as she took a step forward, prepared for whatever lay beyond. But before she could react, Sam's voice broke the moment. "Jenna, wait!" he called, his tone a mix of excitement and caution. The darkness seemed to thicken around them. And yet, Jenna felt a strange reassurance spreading through her, a certainty that they could face whatever came next together. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the rain-soaked night. "I come in peace." A figure stepped into the glare of the candlelight, revealing a woman, tall and wearied, her face lined with stories written across time. "I mean no harm. I heard laughter, and I had to see." Jenna's breath hitched. Before she fully registered the woman's presence, she was struck by the familiarity of her pain. Here stood another soul seeking solace. "Come in," Jenna urged, stepping aside like welcoming an old friend. "You're safe here." The woman hesitated, glancing back at the storm raging outside, uncertainty painted in every line of her face. "Who are you?" Lily whispered, pulling her backpack tightly to her chest. "I'm Helen," the woman replied, a hesitant smile breaking through her guarded exterior. "Just someone who has seen the worst and still hopes for the best." As Helen took a deep breath and stepped inside, Jenna felt an overwhelming wave of connection wash over her. She sensed something pivotal in this instant. It was as if the storm had summoned them all to this very moment, weaving their lives together through shared struggles. "Please, we're sharing stories," Jenna encouraged, her excitement spilling into the air. "We'd love to hear yours." Helen glanced around, meeting the eyes of everyone at the table. The warmth that wrapped around them was palpable. Slowly, she began to speak, her voice steady yet vulnerable. "I lost my home last winter. A fire swept through, and everything I held dear went up in flames. Since then, I've wandered, searching for a place that feels like home again." Tension slipped away as her words ignited the heart of their gathering, intertwining with Tom's and Lily's stories. Helen spoke of love, loss, and the haunting search for belonging. Her struggles resonated deep within them, echoing familiar themes of resilience and hope. As she shared, Jenna watched the transformative magic unfold. Tom shifted slightly closer, their eyes locking, a bond cementing through shared experiences of loneliness, of loss that had dragged them to the brink yet allowed them to rise again, standing united against the chaos of the world. Suddenly, Doris's voice broke through the whirlwind of emotions. "You know, life sometimes feels like a fire itself. It can consume you, but what's left behind can also lay the foundation for new growth. Isn't that what we've all been through?" Nods rippled around the table. Inspiration glowed like the flickering candles that held darkness at bay. Helen's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I never thought of it that way. I was too focused on the ashes to see the seed still buried within me. I just wanted to be whole again." "You are whole," Jenna insisted, her heart swelling for each of them. "Maybe we get better together. We can nurture those seeds." The storm outside raged on, but inside, a different kind of storm was brewing, one of healing, weaving around every shared story like a lifeline. "Yes," Tom agreed, a spark igniting in his eyes. We can find strength in numbers, in the threads of our stories weaving into a tapestry of hope. As conversations sparked and grew, laughter slowly became a gentle undercurrent, carrying them all forward through the darkness. And then, as though responding to their newfound light, the candles flickered once more, illuminating the room brightly, as if the universe itself was applauding their journey towards unity and acceptance. Jenna's heart soared. This is what we've been searching for, not just shelter from the storm outside, but room to grow, to flourish in each other's company. With every heartbeat, she felt the weight of her worries dissipate. They could embrace discomfort, just as they embraced each new story, allowing hearts to mend and unite in shared humanity. The night unfolded, filled with laughter, tears, and reflections as they each added their stories to the growing tapestry, turning pain into purpose. The storm outside felt distant now, no longer a threat but merely a reminder of the depth from which they had risen. And as she looked around at their faces, all the faces glowing with possibility, Jenna felt something shift within herself. She was no longer just a waitress making her grandmother's birthday special, she was a storyteller, a bridge between souls. It was then she realized she had found her purpose, her place, and the journey was just beginning. So, let the cameras roll. Let stories intertwine. The moment was ripe for them. With hearts full of hope and gratitude, they forged ahead together, united against the storms of life. Now, let me urge you, you need to subscribe now to be part of these incredible transformations. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm that supports heartwarming narratives like this. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending, as your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join the family, be part of this journey.